things.
That's good. Ready to.
I'm sending you a Telegram link to YouTube.
Yes, I see that. I see it's okay. So good. Let me see. Just let me share this first. Is the share button here? Okay. What's this? Okay. I can see the stream on Twitter. I can see the stream on YouTube. So should be all good. Let me know if you can hear me and we can get into things slowly.
Yeah. I'm gonna switch to the main screen.
Yeah, sorry if there's some sort of background noise. I forgot my microphone on traveling. So once again, the technical setup on my end is probably terrible, but it is what it is. I think
Yeah, let's give it like
can...
30 more seconds and we can slowly get into things.
Okay. How is everyone doing? If you are doing fine, I have
Sidelined.
posted the links on looking good here. I have
Bybit
posted
hot wallet
the
looking good here.
links, the links for the BonkBot. Obviously these are ref links, but the BonkBot is kind enough to sponsor us streaming. So if you want to show some love and show some support, please, you can test out the BonkBot. It's a Telegram bot. They are launching a platform very soon, which we'll be showcasing also on the stream as well. Yeah, I have been a little bit sick, so I might sound like I'm dying. So sorry for that. But yeah, like I said, thank you BonkBot for sponsoring the streams. Please consider using the link which I posted, I believe, on both chats on Twitter and YouTube, or you'll also find them somewhere. Anyway, let's get into things. So last week, um, I think we are like exactly at the same
It's
price
literally
as
done
we were
nothing for the last
basically.
3 weeks.
Yeah. Like if you just like went to coma for a week, you'll basically wake up at like the same price for Bitcoin. So it's tough, but I hate to and personally, like I trade more markets, and I like sometimes I just think like there's really not that much to talk about. But I actually was long BTC last week. I think I mentioned this tweet already on Twitter, so I'm not going to go too deep into stroking my ego there. But yeah, I had a little bit of long on Bitcoin, which I luckily closed right before Bybit got hacked. So it was nice.
How did you know?
But yeah, like to be fair, I gotta say that the considering the fact that this is probably the biggest hack in the history, if I'm not mistaken, or like the
Yes.
biggest, like exchange hack and all of that. I think price of BTC, obviously, like we had these like beginning of February, this like big sell-off from 105K to basically this like a mid-range. Then we had a bunch of whole different liquidation cascades basically in last few months. This is very subtle. And also what's pretty interesting here is that stocks also went down quite a bit on Friday as well, there was a some SEC investigation, I believe, with the United Health, if I'm not mistaken. This obviously drove stocks down a little bit. Also, Tesla and the overall like S&P and Nvidia, everything basically closed red quite a bit on Friday, and yeah, BTC, adding that kind of hack situation into it, I think it helped quite well. We obviously sold off, but not that big of a big that much, and usually, I think you see this kind of follow through. Um, I saw this mention on the timeline basically that or and it's the Bitcoin, if you have a look at like liquid markets, like stuff where you can, like BTC still is highly correlated to stocks and everything, and basically Bitcoin is the only thing that you can trade over the weekend and is liquid. So the fact that also like we had a little bit of sell-off today, but I think BTC still is holding pretty well, all things considered. Obviously, the volatility is pretty dead, so that's it's tough to trade, but from like a bigger picture point of view, I think it's looking pretty solid still. And uh, our favorite Ethereum is also doing great today, which we can talk about. But yeah, from my um from my kind of point of view, I'm really just waiting. I don't really have, I feel like I traded this range quite a bit over the last couple of weeks. We have done nothing basically for the whole February, and I still managed to take a bunch of trades inside the range. So I think I personally just reached the point where I was like, I'm just going to wait now for like a real strength which for me would be basically a reclaim of this like 100K area, basically where we sold from on Friday. I think if you would just, kind of trade above that price point where all the hack sell-off started, I think that would be pretty bullish for BTC. Or if you would just, make a new lows under, I don't know, where the low is like 93K, then I think we are going to be then filling uh that. Let me have a look. Yeah, basically, if we would just kind of go underneath, 90, 93K, then I think we're gonna be filling that wick from beginning of February and probably lower. So yeah, I'm not super opinionated. Maybe Runner is going to have some more insights.
Yeah, I was actually just to like follow up or get some more questions out of you. So you in the camp of because obviously Fridays actually interesting. You're gonna call me Maren lover, but every like last few weeks on Friday we just get some trauma, and it's also been like Trump's mentioning tariffs. So do you see BTC like specifically on Friday, Bybit hack, biggest ever crypto hack ever, like by actually a pretty big magnitude or multiply whatever. My English is not Englishing, but do you think, like all things considered, Bitcoin is relatively strong considering how weak stocks were? I believe that they were -2% on the day, which is that's like -7% on for BTC type move. It's pretty big move. What I'm
Yeah,
trying to say.
I feel like it's really been the case that Bitcoin held pretty well. Obviously, the Bybit hack, if I'm not mistaken, it happened like at the exactly same time as the US trading hours. So, you know, we had like these like both forces basically driving the price down, and BTC still held quite well. So yeah, it's obviously tough because I think the correlation with stocks is still there when it comes to crypto and when it comes to Bitcoin. So so we'll see next week. I think the whole kind of thing with tariff is getting a little bit um washed out at this point. It's
It's like old news.
um I think Yeah. I think there's still going to be some volatility with these things, especially, when because it started basically with like tariffs on Mexico, Canada and China, if I'm not mistaken. It was like the biggest
Mm-hmm.
volatility event. Then, there were news basically that, the tariffs are kind of going to get postponed by like 1 month. There was a little bit of volatility around that. And then there were actually more news about tariffs on um, Eurozone, Japan, and also tariffs on steel and copper, or steel and something, whatever. And that like barely, and these are still kind of big deal in the boomer world.
In the real world.
Um, yeah, yeah. The outside of Pump Fun, these things like Eurozone exist, and Japan, and but yeah, like like you could basically see that the impact was kind of weaker and weaker. So yeah, I think it's going to be one of those things where just more tariff news. Obviously, in my opinion, is kind of a um stays the same, and I don't think that's going to change. Is that tariffs in general are not good for price of BTC or price of stocks, because they are just bringing this kind of uncertainty. They are obviously causing inflation. If USA is going to impose tariffs on one country, the most logical thing that the country is going to do is impose the tariffs back. So yeah, that's never good for risk assets. And I know that probably no one who's watching the stream is actually looking at stuff like price of bonds. But we can already see
Sorry.
people, gold being basically pushing all-time highs very rapidly almost every day. Bonds has been doing quite well as well, after they basically been down only when stocks were rallying. Obviously now, both ETFs and futures for stocks are doing quite well. So yeah, it seems to be like there is this little bit of a shift into the risk of environment. It feels like to me, and I think we saw that for the first time on Friday, when we had quite a sharp sell-off in the S&P and Nasdaq, and all of these things. Um, but yeah, that kind of my point really stays there, that I feel like that, despite all of this, BTC is still holding quite well, all things considered. But yeah, it can be, it's I think it's this type of price action is just coming to the point where it's just doing nothing, and then like longer it's going to do nothing, then the move is kind of just going to resolve, and we just gonna basically get hit with this like a big volatility, and it's much harder and harder to predict if it's going to be to the upside and downside. Like at this point, I'm not going to be surprised if BTC just goes above 100K again, and makes new all-time highs. But I'm also not going to be surprised if it's just going to start shitting the bed and goes makes correction to like 80K, considering all of the things that has happened in the space, with like um the on-chain stuff, and liquidity coming going to the scams and all of these things. So yeah, it's definitely quite tough environment right now, and I saw a lot of people as well kind of losing their shit, and
Me included.
trying to predict the next move.
I'm like
Trying to
angry posting all
predict them.
weekend instead of just touching grass. It's
Yeah,
like just log off, bro. It's not that
yeah,
deep.
yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted
I
to.
never saw I never seen someone getting so mad about the free money for connecting that to their account as you. So
I wanted to touch on
yeah.
the Bybit situation because you obviously have a lot more experience than I think 99% of market participants. Like understanding just like I would love to chat a little bit because I think first of all it's like literally 2 days old news and this doesn't happen that often in the market. But I basically wanted to ask you, what is the consequences, of situation like this, especially from the side of, I'll help you a little bit. Like global open interest in crypto is down like 20% since Friday, right? If you look at Bitcoin, like order flow, you could see, especially if you like, if I change all the settings just to Bybit, you see just massive deleveraging. So if we can maybe
Yeah,
discuss what's your take on that, because Bybit open interest on Bitcoin is down 26%, 25% in a day, and
yeah. I think it's it's just like first of all, it's like super unfortunate. I feel like Bybit um has been the tier one exchange for a long time, and I think they are handling the situation very well as well. I don't trade there. I didn't have any money there at the time, but I think that from like everyone I saw, people were able to get the money out basically with just like a slight delay, which is understandable. And uh, so yeah, I think that they are handling the situation very well. Obviously, you're still gonna get this kind of like a um hit on reputation. I think I remember this kind of happening with BitMEX back in 2021, I think, when they basically got hit with that SEC uh thing. I think it was, yeah, 2021 most likely. And at the time, obviously it's a different situation than getting hacked, but um, at the time, basically BitMEX was the main place to go to trade BTC. They got hit with this lawsuit, after was under investigation. I don't remember the details, but yeah, it was pretty bad at the time. And like people just like lost the trust for the whole exchange, uh, which basically was kind of over for BitMEX. Like ever since then, the open interest just went elsewhere. Uh, but from like a price action point of view, there was not a black swan event. Like especially since like if you remember, FTX, like FTX was this
oh, I
kind of
do
a
remember.
COVID like the FTX was basically this like COVID like uh event where people were unable to take the money out. Everyone just got like super screwed, and it was like so messed up. And price nuked. I don't, to be fair, remember the exact move on BTC on that kind of day or week, like, but it nuked a lot. Like it went from like 20K to like 15 or something like that. So it dropped basically, yeah, like 25%. Um, in a very short period of time, which marked the bottom. And as unfortunate as it was, these kind of maximum panic, maximum, black swan, maximum it's so over, it's never been more over events are usually the bottom. Um,
Yep.
which I don't think, is exactly the case here with the Bible situation, because like I said, they have been handling this quite well. They paid people out. This is more of a, I think from like a long-term point of view, I think this can mostly just damage Bybit from like a reputational uh standpoint. If But people at this point, they have a lot of options where they can trade still. They can go to another centralized exchange. They can go to Hyperliquid. Uh, so, and since they were able to get the money out, I think that's this is not, basically my point is here that this is not the type of situation that we had, with FTX, that we had with like a COVID crash, where you know, uh, 30% of global open interest just disappears from the market because people just get fucked at once. This is a little bit different, and I think the impact on this is not that severe, basically.
Uh, to kind of follow up to your answer, and sorry to turn this into almost like a podcast type interview situation, but really curious because obviously market makers and big guys, if you will, they have funds all across different sorts of venues, right, with different sort of self custodians and whatnot. Do you assume, like I have it in front of me, there's a DeFi llama. I know different sources show different information, but basically net outflow from Bybit like almost $6 billion, and I'm pretty confident to say that even market makers pulled some of the funds and or changing their operations. If you think we could see, it might take some time, some days, potentially weeks or months to see if if they deposit back and or move their operations elsewhere.
Um, yeah, I mean, for the like if you have institutional account on exchange, which obviously I know that a lot of market makers and a lot of market makers are just, retail traders, like, like we can be market makers. The fact that I put limit orders on both sides does, it's not
Quant.
probably only the market makers, but like, yeah, if you if you would think about like a large institutional traders, if that's your kind of a question, and if that's the kind of a main concern of the outflows, um, if you are institution and if you are trading on exchange, you do not actually have to hold money on the exchange. I think any kind of institution that has, a little bit of a brain, especially in crypto, doesn't actually hold money on the exchange. There are companies where basically they will kind of act as custodials uh, to that. So you basically are eliminating this kind of a third party risk for exactly this situation. So I think like it's just going to be just a widespread panic. I think we saw this um like every time something happens with any exchange, the outflows are kind of insane. Uh Even when the event is not that bad in the end, which, to be fair, like this is what people should 100% do, like I for example, and I can, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but people from FTX got repaid now, so I can say it now. But like when the FTX happened, I think like one day before they stopped withdrawals, I just like read something on Twitter which was like 10% FUD. It was like so unlikely that something is going to uh go down, and I was like very skeptical, and I would never guessed that something like the thing what is about to happen basically in the next 24 hours. But I still, even though it was a little bit stretched, and like I said, I didn't really believe that something is going to happen with FTX. I still sent all the funds out basically one day before the whole exchange went down. And I think this is what should people do. I think people should never have uh, funds on the exchange in the first place. That's what leverage is for, which people still do not understand till this day, that
Can you
leverage.
please touch on that,
Uh,
because I think that is the best message we can no, like seriously, like not trying to be funny, like what Bitcoin's done nothing, altcoins are dumping, Ethereum is up because Bybit is buying. That's kind of end for the stream, right? So I think we can fill in the space with something actually valuable, and the
no,
whole
we
can
have
you
to we have to talk about Ethereum for next
I'm
minutes.
I'm bridging
Uh,
in real life, like no, can we
no,
can
but
we
yeah, like
quickly cover that?
the leverage situation. This is, yeah, this is probably still the funniest thing when it comes to like how people y- trade crypto, and obviously you see all of these like big liquidations, people losing millions of dollars, and obviously there is probably some sort of money laundering going on, but yeah, like people in crypto in general just see leverage as this kind of a tool where you can make 100x of your money risk free. um but in like a real world, basically leverage is a very good tool for you to let's say you have $100,000 to trade with. which like you dedicated this type of money that's going to be your trading account, you shouldn't send those 100K to the exchange and then just fucking leverage up and treat it as like you are trading with million or $10 million, basically using 10x 100x. What you should do instead is send 80K to cold wallet or keep it in a bank, and just send, I generally use this like 20% rule, where I only have 20% of my what I consider to be my trading account on actual any given exchange, and I am using like every time I have a trade idea, let's say that I dedicate 2% of risk into the trade, uh 400K account, that would be obviously 2 grand. So I'm going to be using that on that 20K account that I have on the exchange. So if someone is looking on my on my account on the exchange, they might think that I'm risking 10% because obviously 2K from 20K is 10%. That's a little bit risky, but in reality, I'm just using leverage, so I can I'm using a so I don't need to have that much margin on the exchange basically, and just use leverage to kind of compensate for that. And if I lose the 20K on the exchange, I can just deposit more money from my like cold
Just
wallet or
one last
bank or
deposit, huh?
whatever. Yeah, just one less deposit. And same goes with like if you make money, like if you turn that 20K to 40, once again, like why would you have that on the exchange? You can just off ramp it, obviously you don't have to send it directly to the bank. You can send it elsewhere, do whatever with it. But yeah, at any given point in time, I don't keep any more than, and these days it's around, the 20, sometimes even less percent of the money that I want to trade with, especially in crypto, because like for example, in in TradFi, which I trade quite a bit, the leverage offer is not that high for some of the markets that I trade, so I need more money on the exchange. But at the same time, you can kind of argue that the with the regulations in TradFi and everything is a little bit more safe. But it's not unusual to, even TradFi exchanges go down and they rack and they scam. And yeah, this is really how, in my opinion, you should be using leverage. And even if you're gonna go get hacked or get hacked, exchange is going to get hacked. Sam Bankman-Fried is going to take all your money and run. Uh, you are still, obviously it's going to suck. It's going to suck a lot. You are going to still lose 10-20% of your whole balance, but it's still much better than just getting fully wiped out basically.
Yeah, so I guess summary is not keeping all the funds on one exchange. I know it's like basics, but I've actually got quite because I've seen ZachXBT. Big shout out to Zach yesterday. He did, or sorry, 2 days ago now. But I saw it very early, so I started just spamming on Twitter. But I had people message, "Should I withdraw?" Like, what the fuck do you think you should do? Like, bro, like the biggest, you don't know the. So when you see $1.5 billion hack, and you can quickly go again on like websites like DeFi Llama, see that's around 10% of all assets on Bybit, which is not little, but not also like game over. Like I think the first
No,
thing you should do is withdraw the money, and or hedge the
no,
position on
like
different exchange if
yeah,
which is
yeah, no, like
possible.
definitely,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
definitely, like with especially with crypto where you can just like send things to hot wallet, uh, and only thing that has to happen is basically they have to confirm the withdrawal, which like if you ever use like TradFi broker, it's much more complicated to get the money out, and they will fucking usually call you. And yeah, like in crypto this is very easy. So every time you just like read something that it's still like it's unlikely to be true, you just heard some rumor, it's never going to kill you to just get the money out. Obviously, like for example, I know some people who had a lot of money on FTX. They didn't have 2FA with them. Yeah, it still
That's
sucks.
literally
So,
me.
but yeah, yeah, just don't keep that much money on exchange, because like you should be prepared to just lose everything in when something is going to happen, and losing 20% of your trading balance hurts, but it hurts much less than losing everything basically.
I mean, you literally cannot recover from it, right? Like mentally, physically, and quite literally financially. If you lose every single dollar you have in the market because you have it on all one exchange, and let's say you're traveling and you have some sort of basic OPSEC, so you leave your 2FAs, whatever verification methods at home. Like, I'm sorry, but you're kind of, so if anything, this can be a learning experience. Again, Bybit is fine. I guess the key takeaway is here the loss of reputation for a long time. I even seen Kobe fudding, not necessarily fudding, but making a joke where he should trade next. And yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
I think the
yeah,
exchange is fine, but like let me put it, and this is not to put Bybit on the spot, but how likely are you to deposit money tomorrow to Bybit? I'm not sending my
yeah.
money to Kim Jong Un. Okay.
I'm not, yeah, because your other option is to use Binance, where basically CZ is shilling his dog's meme coin, so that's much safer and better. Yeah, no, yeah, that definitely, but we will see, we will see. If like it's definitely wise to just wait it out. Um, Obviously, a lot of people are affiliated with Bybit, so um, I saw a lot of like high praising messages, from people that also shill Bybit or their partner with them, which obviously nothing wrong with that. But yeah, like at the end of the day, it's your money. Something happened. If you got it out, just wait. Don't rush things. Just it's these things just take time, and obviously, um, I wanted to make this analogy. It's with like a plane crash when the plane is going to crash
What?
for company and a bunch of people are going to going to die. They will make sure that they will like up the security of the plane so it's not going to happen again. But these days like there is like at least one plane crash a day. So probably not the best best thing to say. But yeah, like I do believe that if Bybit is going to um make it out from here, obviously, I'm pretty sure they will also up the security and everything to make sure this is not something that's going to happen uh in any near future.
And
Because
through,
like if it's going to happen for a second time, it's basically just like
yeah, it's game
GG.
over. Yeah, yeah. And through that, we're getting to Eve because the reality of the situation is that the hack was in Ethereum and Ethereum equivalent, so things like MEF, which is hilarious. Like all the mental ETH and all the others. So they swapped it to
Yeah.
ETH. And basically, the most common thing that these guys do from experience, and this was the only use case of Avalanche Bridge ever, is basically bridging to or swapping to Bitcoin from ETH because it's much easier to then, mix it or do whatever. Not that I have experience doing that, but yeah, reality is that Bybit is missing $1.5 billion in ETH. At it was something around 400,000 ETH, if I'm not mistaken. And basically, they need to get it somewhere, right? So they got something called bridge loan on Friday. They're working with partners that would borrow them ETH, loan them ETH, so that people like you and me can withdraw our ETH, right, to our wallets. But they have to return the ETH and they have to fill the hole. They have a lot of reserves. That was my only biggest concern, personal concern, when I was withdrawing. Like, how much money does Bybit have in the treasury or war chest, whatever you want to call it, to fill this gap? Because that's how the shitstorm starts, right? But they started. Long story short, to move forward, they started buying ETH already. I'm not sure if you've seen that. They started buying a bunch of ETH OTC. But what you see on crypto Twitter is the classic, oh, Bybit is buying $1.5 billion dollars worth of ETH on Binance order books, which is obviously not happening, but people are speculating and front running it, right? So you have the current price action of Ethereum. What's your take on Ethereum right now? What do you make of this
I'm
narrative?
going to be completely fair. Like I haven't. Yeah, I was completely out. I was sick as hell during the last week. I was actually traveling when the hack happened, so I really didn't keep up with
Classic.
the whole situation, and especially, yeah, especially with E. For me, obviously the left curve take here is that price is going up, so it's good. ETH is up today as well. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
know how the chart is
outperforming.
looking. Yeah, I mean, it's still in this like a hell range. Obviously, it had this like insane liquidation event when the sell happened at the beginning of the month. So it got really crushed. I don't know. Like I'm just looking at the chart. I'm looking at open interest, which is pretty interesting. People are definitely buying ETH
Yeah.
to trying to kind of front run the narrative. It seems
And
like
how
at
I have a
least.
question. How did that end up last 75 times out of last 75 times for them?
Yeah, like if you look at the OI from like from Friday basically where the low happened, the OI rallied quite a
10%.
bit.
Yeah, 9%
Yeah,
increase.
yeah. S- yeah, I mean, um, considering the fact that like we are in this like insane range and it has just been shit. It's very similar for me to Bitcoin, to be fair. Like this thing can just like go back to 3K within the next couple of days, and I wouldn't be really surprised. But um, at the same time, it's just it's a tough spot, and yeah, like I said, I'm going to be fair. I haven't really caught up on all the dynamics of the buyback of ETH, how it's going to work and how it's done. So yeah, I don't think it's my place to really speak
Okay.
on that.
Well, yeah, I mean, as I said, they're buying back, or they bought already at least $400 million. I've look on chain, made some
So
posts.
so basically it's like a 30%, or
Well,
they have to buy 1.5 billion.
I could look. It's data from 10 a.m. earlier today, so it's like eight
Okay.
hours ago. So it could have changed. I think they're like halfway through minimum. But either way,
Okay.
so what
Yeah.
do you
So
think
it's
happens to ETH/USD if, let's say, we get a headline from Bybit? Ben Bybit, the CEO, is like, "Hey guys, we're back to square one. We get all the ETH back." Um, I
Yeah, I
don't know.
mean, I mean that at that point, like I think in this case, the trade has basically already happened,
Exactly.
and the trade the trade in this whole Bybit hack situation should have been that, which I haven't done. I don't know if you did. Uh,
Fuck no.
the trade
Touching
here
ETH.
should have been should have been longing ETH basically right when the kind of sell-off settled a little bit. So basically at Friday night, Friday evening, I think, or like yeah, I think it was like Friday late evening, our time, where the selling kind of stopped. At that point, the trade could have been made. That like you're gonna long ETH, basically betting on the fact they are going to start buying back the ETH. But right now, like if they are already started, as like you said, and if OI is also, and if people are piling into it on perps, I think this is already a little bit crowded, and kind of, at these prices, it's basically over.
A classic European response from two of us. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I have it here on my second computer that 9 hours ago they already bought at least like 25% of all the ETH that were
Yeah.
supposed to. So, I mean, it's very obvious Bybit is acquiring ETH one way or another. With market being completely dead, Bitcoin being completely dead, meme coins being completely crushed, Solana with massive unlock. It just basically you have all the attention on Ethereum right now, which is fair. Enjoy while it lasts, type of thing. But I think this is close to over, as always.
I
That
think
doesn't mean I'm
what
shorting it, but
I think what is and kind of brings back to my point that like I feel like BTC, like in if you consider all of the things that has been happening for the last, basically since the Trump's inauguration, which basically ended this kind of like a long Trump event, uh it's just like, like the fact that just BTC is holding well, uh, by itself is kind of bullish. And like, because like all things considered, I think everything should have been just trading much lower. There is like, I don't think there is any kind of real narrative coming right now. Um, yeah, we had all of the mess on Solana. So yeah, so it's a tough market. And like I said, it might be just delayed, like things often take time, so like we might see some more selling off in the future. But when things are just very sideways and when there's like no volatility, it's very hard to kind of bet and speculate on things to happen.
Yeah, I'm personally like also on BTC or ETH overall market. What is there to say? We've gone sideways for the last 4 months, especially February has been extremely low volatility despite a lot of good reasons to have like a vol event. At the same time, I know you mentioned that like a few years, even I can say like a year ago now. With we knew we were getting the ETFs, we got the ETFs. That like as Bitcoin as an asset class, which is kind of separated to the rest of the market, becomes more TradFi like and more liquid. That just the volatility should it should be less volatile. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. Maybe we're seeing a bit of that. But it's just done nothing to really say about BTC. Waiting for CME Open, which is in like 4 hours from now. Because I think the TradFi, which I don't trade it at all, even though you already showed me some broker for TradFi. But if basically as simple as if TradFi shits the bed, Bitcoin will follow. It's pretty simple. Right now,
Yeah,
TradFi is
I
closed,
think that
so
that's likely. I think the correlation with the S&P, and especially like yeah, I think this is still there. So yeah, that's probably what I think is worth to watch at this point, because there's really not much else going on. The ETFs, inflows, outflows, I think they have been also insane with that. Um, we for BTC, um, I don't know when are the ETFs for Solana and XRP and the other coins are launching.
no clue. I would have to look at James' Seyfried page, but it's still gonna take some
Okay,
time.
yeah,
But yeah, flows for
yeah. So I
both
think,
products are kind of dead. Basically, they mitigate, they like cancel each other out with Michael Saylor flow. And our friendly
yeah.
Craig had posted, the classic. I have the post here that because it's so sad that still after a year, the main kind of narrative is Michael Saylor buying. Like every time he buys, we actually move the price. We remember when we had the Saudi Arabia wealth fucking fund or whatever it was, and everybody was like,
Yeah, which
"Holy
was like a
shit! Like we're going to a million." Well,
year delayed news.
but it's only, in my opinion at least, it's the only single buyer moving the price is Michael Saylor, and he announced, that they're gonna tomorrow we'll see his purchase. But also most importantly, this past Tuesday, so now it's 5 days ago or something, they did another 2 billion convertible bond. Basically, simple as we're gonna buy $2 billion worth of Bitcoin more. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's just sad at this point. Like
Yeah.
he's renaming his company to
No, I mean,
Strategy.
yeah, no, like we are basically had this. If you look at the daily chart, and you will see this kind of a February 3rd daily candle, which is this big kind of sell-off, which then bounced back. This is like the DeepSeek news.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are still trading inside that one daily candle, and it's been 22 days since that happened, or 21 days since that happened, or something like that. So yeah, definitely gives you kind of a perspective of how the fact that the vol is just kind of crashed here. But this is, to be fair, like this is not um a new thing with Bitcoin, and this is why um even sometimes having like weekly streams and like talking about this stuff is can be a little bit tedious, because like BTC has been trading this way since, I believe, like since forever. Like post FTX, this is how Bitcoin is trading basically. Like you have, FTX had like a big sell-off, like, and then after FTX it went sideways for 3 months. Then it rallied for like a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Then it went sideways for a couple of months. Like market is trending for like 1 week, and then goes sideways for like 4 months while everyone is going to just lose their mind. Only then to rally again, basically. So, which obviously in that case you have two options. One option is just be patient and try to capture these like a big moves, these swing trades, which is completely fine. This is something that I do these days, but at the same time, like I don't really need to look at this every day when I know it's not doing anything. Or you can just day trade and trade like lower time frames. I traded a little bit of these two updates we have this week, then when that kind of rally before Bybit got hacked, and like that's obviously completely viable, but also I feel like there's not much of a point to talk about this on stream because like we don't know if like talking about lower time frame price action overall is just like a something which I tried a couple of times throughout my history being on Twitter, and it always backfired poorly because yeah, it's not a good idea. So yeah, it
Are
is
you
what it
referring
is.
that
I
avalanche
just
trade?
yeah, basically. So um so um yeah, it's the market we have, to be fair. It's just like um it's really the trading in general is just kind of weird thing to do because you can like you are basically doing nothing 90% of your time, but then you have to be at your absolutely best when things are actually happening and you cannot mess up, and you must be able to just like extract as much as money as you can in these like very short windows, which like if you like if you go on vacation or if you are sick or whatever, and the volatility kicks, you're kind of fucked because you need to pay attention again. So yeah, it's not the easy thing to do.
Donald Trump just
Um,
posted a picture with, like the White House account posted a picture with Milei from Argentina. I guess they're getting ready to launch a wombo combo shitcoin.
then yeah, that was fun, I think. Which I don't think we should talk about at all, to be fair.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
No,
I
no, no. We will
I'm
not. That
I
was not
just
my intention. But
yeah, I kind of overall just gave up on all of this. So um do we have anything interesting going on from like a larger market cap coin? So obviously ETH is probably leading today, which leading on Sunday is not that big of a accomplishment. Solana, I think it's just continuously getting hammered. Someone actually asked me about Sol during the week. I just don't have a like. I think I would just buy Solana around like $100, which is quite far lower. Uh, but yeah, I would. Like Sol has been obviously we had this kind of a mid-January rally where everyone was calling for this to go into 1,000, which is basically peak on the on-chain crime, and after that, everything just turned into insane PvP and scams and everything. And Solana has been very clearly underperforming. I think I would really like to see like a full-blown capitulation on Sol
I mean, it's
before,
very likely coming
considering.
because the unlock.
Sorry, what?
It's very likely coming
Yeah, and
this coming week.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, there are unlocks as well. So yeah, Sol is something which I would really watch for like a big liquidation event before getting interested to get back into some longs.
No, but seriously, are you looking like at a flat 100, or is there like a level? For me, it's around 140
Well,
is
I
where I'm
think
just buying.
I think 100, like obviously 100 is like a big psychological level. If it's really going to shit the bed, I think there's going to be a lot of buying pressure. But I would I would probably start to be interested around like yeah, like under 100 and yeah, to be fair, like 110, 120, like much lower than we are right now.
Damn.
Yeah, well, I mean, like yeah, with the state of the on-chain right now with the unlocks, yeah, I think the Solana is in kind of like a weird spot, and like crypto in general is kind of in this like a very like got itself into very weird spot. I feel like when it comes to altcoins, especially because obviously we have these meme coins, which were like every single meme coin that happened was just kind of a liquidity extraction for a couple of people. Um, like if you look at all these coins that launched in the last year, which were so popular, they are basically dead now. So um, the meme coin super cycle, Murat might have to postpone it for like 2035,
I mean, he's still tweeting every day,
which
so
obviously
respect.
yeah, we are still so early, so that's good to know. So yeah, I think the whole situation, like the on-chain really turned into like an insane criminal cycle, and we kind of saw it peaking with uh the Argentina coin and all of that. Um, I think overall this is not something which is like healthy for the whole space. But at the same time, what is there like any other altcoin which is not considered a meme coin, which was actually useful uh and which launched like in the last year, like all of these other coins basically which are not meme coins were just VC kind of fests. Everything like got this instant selling pressure, so like price at the end of the day, price is always going to be the best narrative.
Yes.
um so yeah, I
There's like
mean,
no coins, like I've
uh,
no coins that is doing well. And
yeah,
if
yeah,
somebody's like, oh no, it looks good on 5 minute chart, but then you zoom out and everything is just like.
yeah.
If BTC is
Even
one of
all
top
the,
gainers today, fucking hell, it's over.
even all the, I think the RWA, the real world assets, are kind of the one thing that I still feel like people try to lean to. Although Ondo is not doing very well, I would say.
Yeah.
But there is this one, the OM. What's the?
Oh
It's
yeah.
also kind of like RVA something. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's
That's
first and
like the.
foremost
that-
DWF special.
Oh, okay, okay. So
I mean, you see
that's
this price
already
action in.
disregards.
You tell me how organic is this price action?
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it's actually like genuinely something, which
Yes.
might have a yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, never mind. Disregard everything that I just said.
It's the
Yeah.
future of
So
RWA.
that's yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, like it's tough because like you really cannot. It's really hard to find something which is like genuinely an interesting project, which at the same time is not, it doesn't have like 90% of supply unlocked in the next 6 months. Um, so yeah, man. I mean, we've been. I feel like we have been pretty boring with BTC for the last year or so, but at the same time, I can say that I feel like I missed out much on a lot of things. So
It saved my
yeah,
ass, man. It's actually impressive. This whole runner Bitcoin maxi arc
Mm.
literally like saved my, like if I did the things I did last cycle, I would be like minus 90% basically. 100%. It's no way I could.
yeah,
I would
yeah,
be or fully out of the market.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think one
And
thing.
I spoke about this. I spoke about this as well a lot. That like I just cannot. I always like this kind of conviction of trading altcoins because of like I could never size into the altcoins the same as I could size into BTC trades because there is this selling pressure coming from, unlocks and VC. So there are these meme coins which, they are cool, but they also got launched 4 days ago, and someone is sitting on, 8 figures unrealized PNL now. And, there's a billion different things which always kind of turn me off. And I, like, even though I, traded some altcoins, my, like, I never did anything crazy. And yeah, I think that I was in the, like, looking back at it, I think I also made like a very smart decision to trade the way that I did this, quote unquote cycle since, let's say start of the last year basically.
Are you? I know the answer, but given all the information that is coming our way, do you think President of United States launching a meme coin, then his wife 2 days later or whatever, then basically nation. Remember the narrative was we're gonna dump on nation states, and it looks like to me they're dumping on us instead. Is that the first inning of a bull run? It's tough to say. It's like the question is it's kind of cringy and clickbaity, but where in the cycle are we? Like, what the fuck is happening? Because pretty much all altcoins are in bear market. Nobody can like I don't. It's not even a
Yeah,
discussion. Every single altcoin is beyond fucked. Every single one of them. It's like it's hilarious these charts, right? So, but Bitcoin is at 100K basically, just a few percent under all-time high. And I don't know. My
yeah, I
my
mean,
European brain cannot
I
comprehend.
think I think, and obviously, once again, we are going to just sound like, insufferable BTC maxis, but I think that this whole, like, there was this, there was this, like, infographic which I keep seeing on Twitter every year, basically, for the last 5 years, is this is like BTC is going to rally, then ETH is rallying, then the altcoins, and then the meme coins. Like, this kind of like this kind of a uh
Pyramid.
the way of how yeah, the pyramid of super cycle basically. But I think this changed quite a bit, especially since because the main idea of that is that, people, the main reasoning for those rallies, what, like, I think people think is that, people just buy BTC, then they move the money into ETH, then they move the money into altcoins, then they move the money into meme coins to just kind of capture this beta, to capture that volatility basically. Once the one sector is going to slow down, you're just going to jump into the next one, which is going to drive it, and you're going to jump and so on and so forth. Right. I think this has changed, especially since the ETFs launched,
Yes.
because now obviously I think that Bitcoin ETFs were quite a big success in the end. There's a lot of inflows, all even uh, the the uh, the Emirates, the pension fund or whatever was it, the news basically that came last week or when it was,
Mm-hmm.
they didn't buy spot BTC, they bought ETF, right? So
Correct.
all these institutions and all these, like, large players that bought Bitcoin or got Bitcoin exposure, which inevitably drove, price of Bitcoin from, 50 to 100K in the last year, and basically caused this whole kind of rally in BTC. They bought ETFs, and, they are not going to rotate ETF to fucking Mudeng, right? So
But when you tweet this,
because there's like,
I get cancelled. Like that Michael Saylor is not buying
yeah.
billions of ETH.
Yeah, it's like, like, these people, like, very clearly want to have Bitcoin they don't want to have a crypto exposure, they want to have a Bitcoin exposure, right? Which I understand, and you look at, I think one thing which I kind of appreciate on BTC, and thing that I, for example, appreciate on, like, I trade gold, I trade, these boomer markets sometimes, is that, there is, like, no fucking Vitalik tweeting about how he loves communism, which is probably not the best thing you can tweet as a, like, or there are no unlocks, there are no these kind of a human factors basically, which very often just screw everything up, which, humans kind of tend to do often. So yeah, I think this kind of a whole idea of the super cycle being, people just moving money from the most liquid to less liquid, um, coins that will kind of cascade the rallies on top of each other, or not cascade, but the opposite of it basically, uh, is not really what we see this time around, because the most money came into the ETF and people just sitting in Bitcoin, and if they are going to, you know, sell it, they're just going to sell it basically back to the dollars. So, so yeah, I think that Bitcoin is still an uptrend. Bitcoin has its own super cycle, but it's not really reflected in any of these other coins. And I think there has been this kind of like which is good in my opinion, and I think this is very good for like a long-term point of view, this kind of a decorrelation when, like you see all the layer ones being basically dead. Uh, if you look at stuff like, I don't know, Aptos not really looking good if you zoom out a little bit. If we are going to be 100% honest for this for a while, like it's like all these layer ones are basically just dead. But then at the same time you have Solana, which had its own kind of cycle, and obviously this one was kind of filled with crime and pump fun and everything. But it was a narrative for a Solana. But at the same time, you kind of need to ask yourself, about this kind of a longevity, or about, like importance of like is Bitcoin uh strength coming from ETFs and nations and pension funds and large companies buying Bitcoin better narrative than people buying Solana because they want to gamble on pump fun type of situation. And obviously Solana being like the change in like the rose in price in Sol, like Solana is way less liquid market than Bitcoin, by a lot. So obviously you see, Sol doing, 500% from the lows or whatever it did in the last year. But that's mostly kind of a due to the fact that it just, there is just way less liquidity in that market. So yeah, I think there is this little bit of a difference comparing cycles at this point, and I feel like it's a good thing because like you see kind of a BTC, and if there is like it's an environment where if the project is good, or if it has like a real narrative, if it has a real reason to go up, we have seen it's going up, which is good, like it's not this type of situation like, for example, when in 2021, when like there was not that much going for Bitcoin, outside of the fact that like they were printing money all over the world and just handing them to people, so everything went up obviously, because like at that point, like you had this like a huge effect of like, there's not a real narrative, but stocks go up, like everything is going up, type of situation. So yeah, I don't think this is like I don't think this is a bad market to be in. Obviously, all of these altcoins are basically turning into penny stocks. Uh, where you will basically, I saw you posted on Twitter, I think yesterday or when it was, like peanut being up 42% on a
Yeah,
day,
it's top loser
which
back again today. Full Burj Khalifa.
yeah. So but that's once again, like that's if people want to trade that, like I don't know how liquid it is. I don't really trade it, but like you can trade that, like if you, especially if you are day trading, like you can see this on 1 minute, on 5 minute time frames. You're just going to catch the momentum, like there are trades to be taken there. But obviously, same
But
as
not as a
these kind of
long-term
penny stocks,
investment,
they
right?
will. Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's the key difference.
You're not just going to buy a dead squirrel and, have a 2 year outlook for because Murat told you this is a super cycle of meme coins. So yeah,
In some ways, I think, and people will hate this, but it's been actually a pretty easy cycle as long as you just pull your head out of your ass. Like the market told you if an asset is good or not, by price action and not just you marrying, So the classic, especially first cyclers, is they buy a coin, right? They buy a coin, let's say $10,000 of a coin at $1, and they're basically doing the maths. What will happen if it reaches $10, right? And that becomes their religion, if you will. And they'll basically cannot comprehend that maybe they're simply wrong, and it's just so in that sense it's been a pretty easy cycle because these things have been trending down or up for past 3 years almost now. There's like 5 coins that actually went up, and it's not that difficult
Yeah.
to find a coin. I mean, come on, dude, can you not use TradingView or maybe um,
Yep. That's correct. Okay, so I mean, we have been
oh yeah, we've been rambling a lot today.
live, I think, for a lot. Yeah, there's been a lot of rambling today. I hope it was useful in a sense, but I think it's good. I think crypto in general is like a very delusional space, and I I'm like I'm not really in trenches, but like when I like people who like trade very actively on chain, and I look at some of the comments, like if you look at comments under some of these like people that have audience from like Fan who like have no idea what BTC is basically, and never have traded, never held it, like it's insane, like people are just insane in that sense, which it is what it is. There is obviously always going to be for any type of market this type of behavior, but I think especially if you like want to do this for a longer time, and want to kind of uh not blow up, like there are like so many people who just like lose everything and then basically start again from zero, and it's like every year you see some people just blowing out and then making a lot of money again just to blow it up again. Yeah, that's obviously something you can do, but if you want to be a little bit more reasonable, if you don't want to lose sleep every single day and have some sort of like a normal life on top of it, I think it's good to have a little bit of a sober point of view to some of these things.
It's the only way to truly survive for a long time. I've met, and you too, you met and spoke to so many traders and people from literally now 10 plus years in the cycle. And it's actually, there's a lot of like behavioral patterns between people who survive and who, there's so many people who run up an account, right? So how many stories we've seen from people, let's say, turned $5,000 into whatever, 10 million, and that's obviously the like everybody masturbates over this on Twitter for a month and like, oh, you're such a fucking legend. But in most cases, and this is gonna sound like a bit of code, but like it's easy comes, easy goes, and it's 99% of the times it ends that way. And even people from this cycle, which I'm not gonna name drop, I'm not that evil, but I've already seen people round trip everything, even like the people who made it. And I think it's like playing the game on the most difficult setting possible to be just in the trenches, right? So what I'm trying to say, turn 5K into 50K. First of all, withdraw a bunch of money for taxes and other stuff, right? But you basically like tone down the risk, right? You don't need to take more risk as the portfolio grows, and like whatever. We're just repeating ourselves. But
Yeah,
meat grinder.
yeah. Anyway, I think we're gonna call it off.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, let's hope that price is going to actually move next week, so we
We don't have to
we
be
might not
philosophers again.
uh yeah, we might actually have some trades to talk about and some possible trades to take, but yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Can I check order flow on H1?
I can
Um,
pull it up.
mate. Um, I think, look,
I have it on a chart.
from what
It's just Bybit deleveraging.
yeah, I think I had a kind of idea on Friday when we sold off on Friday evening. I was actually expecting Bitcoin to bounce because there was complete flush of leverage coming from Bybit. I saw some spot being kind of supportive, but we kind of round tripped that. over this weekend, I'm just going to be like, to be completely fair, like I said, I'm just kind of done with this range. Uh, truly, just like don't want to trade this anymore. You know, I took this trade. I was basically buying last week this 94, 95K, you know, closed around 98 um before the hack. And I kind of said to myself, and I had some trades before that as well, uh, which were which were always longs and always the same price basically. I feel like I just traded the same price for like last 3 weeks, and I think it's good to kind of, you know, just give up. So yeah, for me, it's super simple. Into the upcoming week, above 90K, 99K, basically, if Bitcoin is going to show strength and get above that kind of buy bid, sell off price, sell off point, I think I will be pretty bullish and I will be just buying, expecting continuation higher. If we lose, I don't know, something like 94. I think we're just going to rotate lower to fill the wick at 91K, and then possibly I think we would be if basically if this kind of a 3 week sideways range is going to break down, I think we are for like a much deeper correction there,
Yeah.
into at least like 80K area.
Yeah, probably 200-day moving average, 85k-ish, also range low. I think that's a
Yeah, yeah.
pretty easy
I
bid.
so I think maybe we spoke about it last week. Although I don't really use these, like if they were not tested for quite a while, that's always kind of a good systematic level to bounce. So yeah.
All right.
Anyway, thank you guys for tuning in. Like I said at the beginning, the streams are sponsored by BonkBot. If you want to support your two favorite on-chain traders, um, you can use our link. Um, BonkBot is going to be launching the trading platform soon. We are going to be showing this on the stream as well. You know, we're gonna trade some nation coins and stuff like that. Or maybe just look at the stuff and maybe have like a more reasonable approach to these things. But yeah, if you want to support us, if you enjoy the streams, you can consider using the link which is in description on YouTube, or it is posted on chat here on Twitter as well. And with that being said, thank you guys for tuning in, and we will catch you up